Coach Johnson, tell me, how in the world did you guys win that game Sunday?
Yeah, shoot. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's all three phases coming through and making big plays for us down in the clutch. And I think we've got a very resilient group. That's what we've proven all year long. We're never out until the clock hits triple zeros. And it was one big play after another. It doesn't matter how improbable it seemed like, but those guys just piggybacked one after another, and it was awesome to witness.
It seems improbable, but you've done it all year. Is it like expected now?
Yeah, well, I think our guys handle the pressure really, really well. It's a very poised unit. I would say some of us, they thrive in those situations, and when their best football is needed and called upon, that's when they rise to the occasion. So as a coach, it's just a pleasure to watch.
And then Detroit loses, so you guys are in the playoffs. What did that mean to you, clinching a playoff spot?
Well, yeah, it was step number one.
Okay.
You let out goals early in the season, coming out of training camp. Every team in the NFL, they want to make the tournament, and we were able to do that. We earned that, right? And so that was step number one. Step number two for us would be to win the division and have some home playoff games, and then step number three is that number one spot still up for grabs. And so those guys understand that what the task is at hand. We got two big games coming up here down the stretch, and I'm just really proud of how they bought into everything that's been coached to them all year long. We got some really strong leaders on this team, and that's really what's carried us so far.
When you took the job, and I just spoke to Kevin Warren, and he was telling me about the whole process, what was your number one thought? What do I have to do first here?
Well, yeah, I think the number one objective of a head coach is to unite people and make sure that they're all going the same direction underneath the same vision. And so, I felt strongly about Kevin and Ryan and George and the leadership group at the top. And so I felt like we could all get this thing going the right direction. And so, as with everywhere, that there's always some bumps along the way, but I feel so strongly about the people that we brought into this building, both as a coaching staff, locker room wise. We have really high character individuals. The things that have gone on in the past actually I think have helped us because everyone is so committed to bringing a winner here to this city and this organization. And so I think it's really been a beautiful thing to watch come all together, and yet we still have so far to go. We're playing and we're winning, and yet I think our best days are in front of us still.
Why do you say that?
Well, yeah, I think I just feel so good about the foundation of this team. I feel really good about this coaching staff. We have some good young players that are going to be a foundation for what we want to do going forward. And so I think it's a really good balance of where we're at right now.
You talked about your coaching staff. You got two of my former players. You've got some guys that I coached against for years. And you didn't know all these guys. You kind of reached out. Tell me about that process of hiring your staff.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a few ways that you can do it. The one thing that I learned from Dan Campbell, and he always said this to me, was a head coach is only as good as his staff. And so that was really important that I nailed these hires, especially year one. And so we did our due diligence on everybody. Dennis Allen's been incredible for me, not just from a defensive perspective, but just all in all, the experience he has as a former head coach has been overwhelming. He's done a phenomenal job with me. We sit down on a daily basis and we talk about not just the defense, but the entire team and the direction that we're looking to go. Richard Hightower's done a phenomenal job with our special teams unit. I can go on and on and on, but we have a really good mix of youth, experience, ideas, guys that are excellent on the grass, that bring energy. Antoine Randall has played a critical role in what we've done here.
Knew him.
Yeah, I was very, former Chicago, grew up in Chicago. This means something to him, bringing some glory back to this city. And so, I can't say enough about how much of an impact this whole coaching staff has had, not only on me, but this entire building.
And it seems like, and I'm a defensive coach, so I kind of respect this. It's a physical, tough-minded, and tough-bodied group, too. That's what they've emphasized.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I think that's, Dennis, the thing that he's always said from the moment I met him was, it's not about what we call, it's about how we play. And I think he's really brought that to life. It's one thing to say it, it's another thing to see it actually take place on the field. And our guys, they play a relentless style of football on defense. Up front, we like to strike blocks, shed blocks, pursuit of the football. Our perimeter players, they're not afraid to tackle. And so I think as a team, our physicality shows up. Not defense, offense,
everywhere.
We got our receivers blocking. Coach Randall L's done a great job instilling that mindset. And so the physicality with which we play, hopefully that jumps out on tape week in and week out.
It's one thing to say that and want that. How do you get that done in practice and leading up to games?
Yeah, well, I think if you ask some of our players, they would tell you that it was one of the more challenging training camps that they've gone through. And I give them a lot of credit because they trusted this coaching staff. And it's their desire to be great. It's their desire to win. They want to be really good at their positions. They want to be really good as a team. And so the buy-in has been there. They've trusted us every step of the way. I think we've been very smart with how we've approached it. We've explained the why to them on everything that we do, which is so critical these days. And like I said before, I think when you have guys like Kevin Byard and Grady Jarrett and Joe Tooney, guys that have won at a high level, they played meaningful games in the playoffs, they've been to Super Bowls. When you have guys like that, it just helps. It helps forge that direction and brings the locker room with us. And I can't give those guys enough credit.
Was that a conscious effort on you guys' part to get a couple of veteran guys like that and bring them in, those big-time leaders?
Yeah, I mean, well, it starts at they're all three of those guys I mentioned, they're phenomenal football players. And even though they're getting up there in years a little bit, they still are. And they make a meaningful impact on game day. But you're right. I think their leadership and what they're able to do in that locker room really goes a long way for us as a football team.
Coming to Chicago, obviously one of the big tasks was Caleb Williams. What did you see in him that you knew you had something special to work with?
Well, I think everybody, they first talk about the arm talent, they talk about the ability to create and extend, and certainly that's something that jumps off the tape, but I think what I've just been blown away with is just his competitive drive. This guy loves football. He wants to be great. He's going to stop at nothing but to be great. And I think that's a great starting point for any competitor in this league. I really think because he's wired that way, he's opened himself up to coaching. We meet on a daily basis, to go over practice tape, game tape. What are we trying to get done that week? How can we get better? And he's being very critical of himself. He knows that he's only scratching the surface of what he's capable of right now. And so that's why when I talk about our best days are to come, I just see this guy getting better and better every week. We talked about as an offensive staff just yesterday how far we've come from the springtime, and trying to break a huddle properly. And we're reloading plays back to back to back. And now we're in December and we're not having any of those issues anymore. And now we're really able to get to, really good football.
Yeah. And mentally he's growing, obviously. Was there anything physically or fundamentally you had to work with him? Was there one thing that, hey, we've got to get Caleb doing this?
Yeah, well, I think that's an ongoing process, the physical part of it. But we changed in the springtime his feet from the gun. He's now left foot forward. And so that took a little bit of time just to get the comfort level down and the consistency down with what we wanted that to look like. We continue to make strides in that area, but I do think it always starts from the ground up with a quarterback in terms of throwing mechanics. There's still times where we can be closed off when we're throwing to our left and puts us a little bit behind. And so those are things we talk about. Those are things we learn from, and we're continuing to get better to where we're more consistent passers that way.
You've been known as a great play caller. Have you tailored stuff to Caleb and trying to do what he does best, or is it, hey, this is our system and let's go?
Well, yeah, early on it was let's throw a lot out there and see what, not just Caleb, but our offensive line, our backs, our receivers, what we're all really good at. And so I think we settled into a pretty good little routine of what we feel comfortable with and what we're about. Our offensive line, I think that's still the engine of what we do on offense. The running game's really picked up since the bye week. These guys are doing a great job. Our backs are trusting their landmarks. And so because we've become such a good running team, that's been able to open up the movement game and the play actions for us. And so Caleb, he joked about it a couple weeks ago. For a guy that was told couldn't turn his back to the defense and be able to see and process, he's doing a pretty good job this late in the season. And so he'll tell you that he can make any throw that's out there, and he can do anything that we ask him to do. And it's just time on task. I really don't see a limit with this guy.
Now,
we're continuing to see what's best.
And I know he feels this and he believes this, that he can make any throw. Do you have to tell him sometimes you don't need to make that throw?
Yeah, well, I think what he's doing a great job of is understanding the situation, and so I think that's probably a big reason why when we're in the second half of the fourth quarter and the game's on the line, hey, I got to make a play here, and he opens it up.
He does it.
But prior to that, maybe he's a little bit more conservative, and he does a great job taking care of the football. He really doesn't put it in harm's way very often. He doesn't throw many interceptions. He never really has. And so we have an immense trust level, and so it allows me to be pretty aggressive with the play calling, knowing that he's going to do a good job taking care of that football.
You're known as a guy who comes up with, let's call them creative plays. Where did you find this, and how do you come up with these?
Well, I mean, my background has been with a number of play callers. I go back to Mike Sherman in Miami, Bill Lazor in Miami, Adam Gase. I had Darrell Bevel in Detroit. I can keep going on and on and on. And when you experience all these guys, they kind of all have their little buckets of gadgets that they like to go to. And so you accumulate those over the years, and you come to learn that it's usually good to have one or two of them in each week to keep the guys engaged and going, and at the same time it makes it pretty difficult on the defense.
Yeah.
You give them a lot of eye candy, and I think it makes you a more dangerous offense and more difficult to defend.
How do you balance that, though? Because you come across, hey, we're tough, we're physical, we're fundamentally sound, but then, okay, we're going to have a couple of these things that nobody's expecting.
Well, it always starts with the fundamentals. If our building blocks are right, which I feel really good about, certainly this part of the season, where our deuce blocks look the way they're supposed to. Our triples between our tight ends and our tackles look the way they're supposed to look. You're like, okay, now we can get a little bit more exotic with maybe the ball handling or some of the things we're trying to do to just soup it up to a degree and make, like I said, it all comes down to how can we manipulate the defender's eyes a little bit and gain a little bit of an advantage.
And you guys do that well, and the other side of the coin, you're taking it away at an unbelievable rate. And what's the story behind that?
Yeah, well, it's not a fluke. It's something that we coach. We're very conscious of it. It starts with Dennis, obviously. We drill it each week in practice. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Al Harris. He's
one of my guys.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a phenomenal job. He made a huge impact on our players. He's made a huge impact on our defense and our team. Everywhere he's been, his DBs have been ball hawks. It's just in Dallas for a number of years, it was Diggs and it was Bland, they're coming away with interceptions. Well, that's carried over here, and it's a big reason why Nashawn Wright's playing such good football right now. He's got a history with Al going back to Dallas, and we were very fortunate to get him on board. And I think he's credited 9 takeaways right now between the forced fumbles and the interceptions. And so it's a combination of coaching along with some players that are very ball conscious right now, and they know how big of an impact it's making on our team.
Well, you mentioned some of these assistant coaches. Think of yourself as an assistant. Which coaches, you mentioned Coach Campbell, but who else had an impact on you and the way you do things now?
Shoot, I mean, it's everybody that I've been exposed to has made a major impact. Coach Campbell in Detroit, every coach I had in Miami, Matt Patricia in Detroit as well, Adam Gase, Joe Philbin, Clyde Christensen had a major impact on me fundamentally from the quarterback and receiver position.
Tell me how.
Oh, well, I mean, to me, he's the best technician that I've ever been around. And he knows how to drill it, and it comes to life on game day when you do it that way. And so to me, there's always coaches you're around, and occasionally you come across one or two that hey, I want to be more like that guy. That's Clyde Christensen for me. I want to be more like Clyde Christensen as the longer I'm in this league.
And everybody around this building tells me about your contact with the players and your connection with the players, and that was Clyde Christensen also. I'm sure that had an impact on you.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You know, Clyde had a great way of getting the point across, and yet he's never demeaning or anything like that. You know, and you know, that's the balancing act. Is as a coach, you still want to be demanding. You want to make sure discipline's intact, but at the same time, these guys need to know that you love them, and you know, that's the art of what we do.
And you've done it really, really well. It's been great to see and great to watch. Speaking of loving players, you mentioned Nashon, and he went through some personal things, and you had to give him some time. You know, tell me about that.
Yeah, no, it's it's a difficult thing that, you know, middle of the season, and someone very close to him ended up getting killed, and you know, we were very conscious of making sure that Nashon was right mentally and emotionally, and so yeah. Same thing, I give Al Harris a lot of credit. He's forged such a strong relationship with his entire room, but you know, they have a history, and I know Al went and sought him out afterwards, and all those DBs were wanted to be there for him and make sure that he knew how much we all care for him and just want his well-being at the forefront. And so, you know, ended up having one of his best games coming off of that, and you know, it's a powerful thing to think about and reflect on, to be honest with you, because it's such an emotional time for him.
It's an important part of this job that many people won't even see or recognize, but that's the reality of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's such a long season, and it's easy to get focused solely on the football, and yet we all have things that pop up, you know, relationship-wise or outside of the building that we have to work through. And so it's good to know that we have a strong support system in the building that's here for us and to help us through those times.
Just a little bit on this upcoming game. Going to San Francisco, a lot on the line. You guys are fighting for the division title, #1 seed, possibly. What's your message to the team this week?
Yeah, well, you know, we're at the point now, there really doesn't have to be a real strong message. I think we're coming off a very emotional win there against Green Bay. That was a rivalry game. We were at home. You know, emotions were all over the place throughout that one and throughout the week. And so we're just at this stretch right now where we have two very meaningful games. The motivation's at an all-time high. These guys, you don't get these chances every single year, and I think the guys that have been here can certainly tell you that. We have a number of guys on this roster. You know, I think of Montez Sweat to Andrew Billings to DJ Moore, Cole. You know, like there's a number of guys that have played really good football in this league for a number of years, and yet they haven't been a part of winning teams or playoffs. And so I don't think there needs to be a significant message other than when the stakes get higher, the details are just that much more important. The fundamentals are that much more important. It's going to be about ball security, taking away the football, seeing the football in the catch, tucking it. I mean, it's tackling. It's all the little things that get magnified this time of year.
Will you mention anything at all about, hey, we're playing in this stadium in Santa Clara that we might want to get back to a few weeks later?
I mean, we all understand that goal, but I think week by week right now, we're just solely focused at the task at hand. You know, that's what's gotten us to this point. We understand that there's a way to go 1-0 each week, and we talk about that path of victory at the end of the week and what we need to do objectively to get that task done. And so our guys have done a great job just keeping that the main thing, and I don't think that changes from here on out.
I'll tell you this, it's been fun to watch, and it's fun to be in this building and just see the connection you've built with everybody here, players, staff, and it's been amazing to see, so congrats.
I appreciate that, Coach.